有啲話係嗰啲真係唔得咩？我知佢都冇話嘅。你之前已經係咁，之前大家你唔好話你叫咩啦，喺度做。但係而家係咁啊嘛，跟住如果我咁樣，跟住喂你呢個連我呢個都睇到喎，跟住點解係我嘅畫面唔係呢個畫面？得係咁啊，係啊 ，OK OK， 錯啱啊，即係你就咁樣，又係咁 OK OK， 咁你可以，你使唔使咪㗎？聽唔聽到啊？你睇下。咪咯咪咯，嗌出嚟，我唔知喎。好正啊！同你做嘢。繼續。簡介。我諗自己可以講 YX。黐線。你第二 disclaimer 唔使講。OK， 開始咩？我可以直接。誒，你仲有個咁嘅嘢？我唔使你佢，唔使你有啦。好㗎啦，是但啦，你。開始啦！我唔緊要啊，你可以真係真係唔使定係我開場幾句先，開場幾句，你有嘢講？我都係講翻你係邊個？唔使啦 ，OK， 英文喎。哦 ，OK。Hi everyone. Today I'm going to give you a brief introduction about statistical arbitrage trading strategy, and I will mainly focus on one real trade examples, which is one of the strategies that I have been paying attention to. And this example is trading Euro futures and Swiss franc futures as a pair using multi-trust. This is a disclaimer, just skip it. Okay, I'll talk about this Euro and Swiss franc pair, where I get these ideas and how to implement in multi-trust, what's the result, and both in backtest and in real trades, and also introspection after what really happened in the market. So first, where did I get this trading idea? Well, there are mainly 4 ways in my situations. First one is books, then is thesis, research reports, and my own inspiration or research. And in statistical arbitrage, or as I call pairs trading, we may need to use several mathematical tools like difference, division, addition, ordinary square, integration, etc. So you may need to know what they are before using them. So the research report, this Euro and Swiss franc pair trading idea came from a research report I read last year. These 2 currency futures are traded in CME and denoted in US dollar. Their price correlation is larger than 0.9 in 1 year and larger than 0.8 in 4 years data. And you can look the price chart here. Their price movement is very alike. And the contract value of these 2 currency futures has the same multiple, which is 125,000. And this chart is from 2014 to 2016. Actually, it's the data the report used to do its research. And the basic logic of the trading idea in the report is like this. It used the data from 2014 to 2016. And since it used the first 251 trading days data to do an ordinary least square regression, so the peg test trading period was from 2015 to 2016. And let's denote the uppercase EC1 as the contract value of Euro futures at yesterday's closing price. You can see the graph. It may show you how to understand this uppercase EC1, how to calculate. And we denote lowercase EC1 as the contract value difference of the Euro futures between yesterday and the day before yesterday, and which is the uppercase EC1 minus EC2. The same logic, lowercase sf1 means the contract value difference of Swiss francs futures between yesterday and the day before yesterday. So by looping backward, you can get 251 data points of the contract value difference of these two futures. Then when you get two set of data, lowercase EC1 to EC2 521 and SF1 to SF251, you can do the report did a regression. And it gets equation, which is here, is underscore EC1 equals to the intercept A plus the slope B times SF underscore. And then the report sets a spread, which is its threshold for its trading purpose. The spread is equal to, you use the today's uppercase EC0, the closing price of Euro futures, and you calculate the lowercase EC1 as EC0. Then you take the SF, the closing price of Swiss franc futures today, to calculate the lowercase SF0, and then you put this figure into this equation, you get a so-called theoretical value of lowercase EC, and then take a difference. Then the report get a spread, and it designated two boundaries. One is the upper boundary 370. And the other one is the lower boundary minus. How does the entry strategy of this report work? Is like, for example, if today, right before the market close, it gets a price of Swiss franc futures, then it calculates lowercase SF0 as like minus 100. Then since you have these two parameters, so you can calculate EC underscore as minus 190. Then at the same time, you get a closing price of Euro futures and calculate the EC0 today. Then you take the difference. If lowercase EC0 today equals 0, then the spread is equal to 190, which is between the upper and lower boundaries. Then you take no action in the report. And if lowercase EC0 equals to minus 400, then the spread is equal to minus 210. Then you will buy one contract of Euro futures and sell short one contract of Swiss franc futures. And if lowercase EC0 is equal to 200 today, then the spread is minus 300. Oh no, it's 390. Then it will sell short one contract of Euro and buy one contract of Swiss franc. So that's the basic logic. The entry strategies of this research report is actually doing a mean reversion, and then you can feel it. It's like if today SF Swiss franc had dropped a lot, like 100 contract value. Then in the equation, EC must be dropping dropping at the same time, and we don't know whether it's dropping more or less because it depends on the intercept and the slope. If euro today is actually rising, then they are completely going different direction. Then you may think maybe euro has acted totally away from Swiss franc, and since they are highly correlated, then possibly the next trading day, euro, their spread actually is their spread. The euro will drop and the Swiss franc will rise. Actually, it's like their spread is a curve, and if it goes right to one direction, you are betting it go back to the other direction. And in the report, with both entry and exit strategies, I didn't mention exit strategies here because it's quite complicated. And this ECSF pairs trading strategies has 75 trades in 270 trading days. With a principal of 20,000 US dollar, it has an annual return over 90% and the maximum drawdown around minus 13%. Is quite a good result in the report. So I try to implement this strategy in multi-charts, but there are some problems in my concerns. And at that time, in 2016, and the data points are not enough in my opinion. So I changed the calculation time interval from 1 day in the report to 1 hour, so that I can get more data point to calculate that spread parameters. The second one is the exit strategies in the report is quite complicated. So I simply take the next entry as my exit strategies, which means if I short 1 euro and buy 1 Swiss franc when the spread is over 370, then I will only close my positions when the spread going down to below minus 200. And also, the report used Excel to do its backtest. So we need to recreate this strategy in multi-charts, and we need to use multi-charts portfolio backtesters. If you are using English version multi-charts, it's called Portfolio Trader. And we also need to do an optimization for these pair trading strategies. This chart is for trading purpose, as you are trading 2 contracts at the same time. So you need to open 2 charts. This one is trade. You see 6E there is euro, and that 6S there is the Swiss franc. I'm using this is Chinese version multi-charts. And you can see data 1 is the 1 hour euro futures price. Data 2 is the daily price of euro futures. Data 3 is the daily Swiss franc price, and data 4 is the hourly Swiss franc futures price. Why I need four data? Because you can think back the logic in the strategy. You need the daily data to do the regression, and also you need to use the hourly data to calculate the 1 hour hourly spread in order to decide whether you need to entry or exit. And this is a signal. This is a signal I create to see whether the spread is above, and here the parameters is 400 and minus 700. Yep. So if the yellow line goes yeah. Then if let's say here if the yellow line goes above the red line, then euro in the next hour, right before the bar begin, it will send an order to sell one contract of euro. And this chart will at the same time send an order to sell short, to buy one contract of Swiss franc. Yeah. Yes. Yes. This is doing for mean reverse strategies, not for trend following, but I will mention that later. Because you can see, actually, I cannot squeeze the time frame. Actually, if you look for a very long time period, this curve is actually zigzagging, so it's much more easy for us to trade to profit if we trade mean reversion instead of trend following. Actually, it barely has trends, but I will mention that later because it's a whole story. Yeah. So you say that you yeah. So when the yellow line goes back to the top, yeah, to the white line here, then it will close the position. And if the yellow line still stay below the white line in the next hour, then it will open a new position, which is buy euro and sell short Swiss franc. And so it's a Chinese version portfolio backtester. Actually, if you are using Portfolio Trader, it has much more buttons and functions in this chart. So this is the setting of the setting in the multi-chart portfolio backtester. We have two strategies. So if you want to backtest your pairs trade, you need to create two strategies. And one is trading euro, and the other one is trading Swiss franc here. Then you can see I added 4 time frame data in here. It's 1 hour euro, 1 day euro, 1 day Swiss franc, and 1 hour Swiss franc. But you don't need to do the same thing for Swiss franc, as you can solve this backtest problem in your codes. And be careful of setting these two strategies, especially, I don't know the English name here, the reference bars, the number of reference bars. You need to set it to 251, otherwise you cannot run a backtest for optimization, because you are using the former 251 daily strategies in order to calculate the slope and the intercept. Now is the coding quite simple. Since we have two charts, one for euro, one for Swiss franc, so we need to write two signals. And let's begin with the euro signal, as I call it, easy leg. First, you will have the inputs. Upper boundary 400, lower boundaries minus 700. Actually, this is the optimization result I get. I just put it in the inputs as a default number. And the y size and x size here is the multiple. The multiple I mentioned before is the contra multiple. Actually, I write this as an input just in case that you are not trading if you are trading a 1,000 multiple product, then you can just use the same signals instead of writing another one. And we declare two arrays. One is, I call it YY, and the number of elements in this YY array is 250. Actually, it's 251. I don't remember why I write 250, but the result comes out almost the same. Okay, yeah, I forgot. Actually, if you write YY 250, you have 251 elements in this array, because YY 0 is also one element. It starts from 0 to 250, so it's 251.
what Ethan is trying to mention is remember section 1, our coding lecture. And if you declare a 250 index in the array, so actually in the array there is a set of variables from which is yy0 to yy200. So actually it is 251 elements in the array.
Yes. And then we declared 4 variables. The first one, I is just for the looping purpose, like I in the Excel VBA, but you don't need to declare it. And I don't know. Yes, we don't need to. And also, one is for we to save the slope parameters. So we create as slope variables and I-intercept and also spread. Now the red line here is quite a crucial here. GV set name double means you are creating a global variable called UB, upper boundary UB. Then you give this UB a figure, and the figure is 400. Yeah, it's UB. That's how to use it. GV set name double means you are setting a global variable which you can use in another signals, not in this page, but in another signals at the same time. So we have 2 GV set name double means I create 2 global variables, one UB, one LB, and I save the 400 and the minus 700 into it. Actually, why I use global variable here is because it's for the optimization purpose. We can see later. Then we use the loop here to calculate the lowercase EC1 and lowercase SF1 to S1 251. And you can see the close of theta 2, remember, is the daily price of euro. And the close, is the day before yesterday's closing price of euro. And then I time the contract size. And also here, I use the close of data 3 of yesterday's is the Swiss franc daily price, and then minus the closing price of Swiss franc futures the day before yesterday, and times 125,000. And then by use the loop, you can get 251 data points of the contract difference. Actually, this is the EC1, lowercase EC1, and this is the lowercase SF1. Then you need to find these 2 functions. Inrect slope underscore A. A means array. That's for the array purpose linear regression. And here you put the independent variables. Here you put the dependent variables, and you claim how many data points you need to use. Actually, I don't know whether it should be writing 250 or 251, but maybe 250. Then you get the slope. You save it into this S slope variable. You get intercept, intercept. You save it into the intercept variable, and then you use close. Close is today's hourly closing price of euro futures minus yesterday's euro closing price. That's the daily data, and then you time the contract multiple and minus what you get from the linear regression, and using the function to calculate the so-called theoretical DC value. And then you can calculate this spread. And the last one is when you get a spread, you need to send this figure to the other strategies because you need to open both the euro and the Swiss franc positions at the same time. So we also need to set a global variable. I call it spread, and I save the spread figure into it. So it's quite simple, and I assume no problems, right? Okay, then is the trading part of the euro leg. If market positions equals to 0 means you have no positions, and the spread is larger than the upper boundary, then you sell short next bar at market. And if the spread is lower than lower boundaries, then buy one contract next bar at market. I don't use limit order here because you need to make sure both positions are opened right away. You can't take the risk to have a time lag. And if you have a long position, then when the spread is larger than the upper boundaries, then you sell your positions right at the next bar. And if you are shorting euro and the spread is lower than the lower boundaries, then you buy to cover that position. And here is the other signal, is the SF leg, Swiss franc leg. And here you don't need the inputs, you don't need the arrays because you have all the calculation done in the easy leg signal. So all you need is variables and to set and to receive the figures you calculate from the other signal. And here is the another function that works with GV set name double. It's called GV get name double. So you just get the upper boundary. You just calculate it from other signal. And then you save it in this signal as your variable UB. So this will save 400. This LB will save minus 700. And this 100,000 here is just the default figure you must set if it cannot get any value from the global variable UB. And I set it so big because I need to check if the GV failed, then you only see euro is trading and Swiss franc cannot open any position because 100,000 is quite a large upper boundaries for this method. And also you need to get the spread you calculate from the EC strategy and save it in the spread. Then you have the trading part of SF. SF actually just open and close at the different ways, but at the same time with euro futures. The red figure here you need to focus because sometimes you may run into error because you need to change the one from -1 here, and as you are doing the opposite trade compared to the euro signal. So it's quite a simple coding. It has barely no exit strategies because you just open when the last position closed. Then here, after all the setting and signals, we can run the backtest. But as we have two inputs, the upper boundary and the lower boundaries, we might want to look at the surface of our inputs to see what inputs are both more profitable and stable. So I chose the range of upper boundary from 100 to 1,000, step 25, and -1,000 to -100, step 25 for the lower boundary. And so the total optimization time numbers is 1,369. It only takes several minutes and come up with the report. Then you use the 3D 3D chart to see whether it has a good, stable, and profitable surface, so that when you choose your parameters, anywhere around what you choose has similar results, which means stable. And actually, the chart is not very satisfying, but I still try to find a range of somewhat stable and profitable. And among them, I choose that point, which is 400 and minus 700. And here I run the backtest report. Assuming the principal is 100,000 US dollar in around 3.5 months, this strategy produced quite a good profit, around 10%, that's 10,000. And if the principal is set to 20,000, then it's 50%. And no maximum close-to-close drawdown. That's what I think is quite stunning. But there are also some shortcomings. The first one is, I mentioned before, it's not very stable parameters. And the second one, the trading period is quite short. It's from the August 2016 to only 1 month, 3.5 months. And the third one is it has a quite easy exit strategies. And also there is something need to be looked into more carefully. You can see all the profits came from the short size. Actually, that doesn't tell anything, but but you may need to look at what happened, whether it's only when you shorten euro you earn money, or that's a big problem, or both shorting euro or shorting Swiss franc will make profit, then that's great. Also, no close-to-close NDD that may imply curve fitting is a big problem if you want to do real trades in this strategy. So however, at that time, I didn't look into the shortcomings and started doing real trades after monitoring the strategies for another month. And in the first 3 months, the results are not bad, and the curve looks good. That's the result of real trades. I'm using this entry strategy. And on top of the ordinary strategy, I wrote 2 more exit signals, which is the profit target and the stop loss into the code, as I discussed with my boss, because he hates the floating loss. And also, in some cases, we allowed trading 2 pairs at the same time, which means the first pair, which means when the spread is larger than 400, let's say, then we short 2 contracts of euro and buy 2 contracts of Swiss franc. Then I set a stop. Then I set a profit target for 1 pair. And that pair, if it hits the profit target, it will close, and we leave the other pair still in the market to wait for the spread to hit the lower boundary. And also, this can leverage up the profit. And the return is 13%, not bad compared to the close-to-close MDD here. It's only minus 1.63%. Imagine if we have more principal, then we open like 10 or 100 contracts when the signal tells you to open your position, then you can get a very good profit. And luckily, we didn't do it because after another 3 months, something goes wrong. Trades are doubled, but more than half of our profits are gone. And the close NDD is larger to minus 7% over 7%. And also since this account is trading this strategy and other strategies, has hit a predetermined stop line. So we stop the real trades of all the strategies. And in my race to a question, what happened? Maybe because I add a profit target and a stop loss in the original strategies. So, and it makes things worse, maybe. So let's see the original strategies performance during the same period. Actually, if we stick to the original strategies, we might be losing our principal in July. The vertical line is the date we started the real trading. So that's how curve fitting look. You have a very good result in your backtest report. And then you have your NDD. And you don't know how big it will become. And this failure leads me to look more carefully into these pairs trading strategies. Euro and Swiss franc futures is US dollar denoted. And so when we buy a Euro future and short sell one Swiss franc futures, we are actually buying Euro which denoted in Swiss franc. Actually, we are trading a currency pair. And let's see the movement of Euro denoted in Swiss franc in the real world. And you can see in this chart, the orange line here is the real trade swap. Close curve, and the gray line here is the in Swiss franc. And this strategy is start increase. Actually, you can see before late April, before this line here, this curve is more fluctuating, while after April, it's more trending, and it's trending upward. So our strategy is trading for mean reversion. Such a big trend is definitely a disaster. And as I remember, what happened here is the French candidate Macron has won his election in the first round, and this currency pair just get up and never go down from since then until today. So let's see in a website. Actually, you can open that on laptop. It's called investing.com, and if you input the EUR, Okay. So here, you input EURCHF, you can find this pair. And let's look at the technical charts. And let's set it to 1 day. Let's see the 1 day movement. So the research report used the data from early 2014 to early 2016. And if you ignore this one bar, this is where the Swiss franc and the euro have unhooked. That day is also a very horrible day. Actually, the daily price curve of this of the euro RCHF is fluctuating and doesn't have much trends. So luckily, actually in his report, it didn't open a position here, so it didn't suffer a big loss or have a big gain. And if you look much larger, you can see there are a lot of upper and lower shadows in this daily bar, which means in our hourly strategies, we actually have the chances to open a position in its lower shadow and then close that in the other day's upper shadow. Actually, when I look back into the real trade's record, is how I earned the first 3-month profit. It always open at the lower shadow and then close that in the upper shadow. But after April, you can see here, get up as macro, get inactive as investment funds. And then it all the way goes up and have barely no shadows. And I look back into the news at that period, maybe it's the fall of European Central Bank and the Central Bank of Swiss. Swiss. 佢做點翻嚟？點翻嚟？哦，得啦。So, if you find a price curve that has long upper shadow and lower shadow, and also you on the daily basis it doesn't have a big trend, we call it oscillation, and actually you can have a good strategies as we see in the report and also in my backtest, because we can close the position without exit strategies. But if it turns, the fundamental situation has changed, then we may suffer a big loss with this strategy. Then I plot this chart. The y-axis is the euro futures price, and the independent variable is the contravalue difference. Actually, it's just a lowercase easy one. And then you can find it has clearly a very, very obvious relation between them. So it tells us that if the euro is experiencing a big trend, its value denoted in US dollar has changed fundamentally, then what we are trading is quite dangerous, because if the euro price is oscillating between 1 and 1.2, then you can have your profit by trading, by sell short here and buying here. But if the fundamental price of euro has changed, then you might sell short here, and then the fundamental value of your pair go to 30,000, and then you lose $10,000 with a single pair. And that's using the 7-year strategy to plot this line. And if we look more, narrowing the time period, it also shows the same result. Actually, the regression is much better if we use the early 2016 to 2017. So it has, if the euro is relatively stable, we can trade this pair. But if euro is trending, actually it's better buying euro, sell short Swiss franc. So how to improve this strategy? Actually, I didn't abandon this strategy, because still, if you have a strategy that has a winning ratio of over 80%, then your boss will like it. So, but how to improve? I have 7 thoughts after this failure of this strategy. The first one is more strict stop line. Actually, we stop quite late. If we stop earlier, maybe, and stop trading this pair, maybe we can save more profit. The second one is we need to write more complicated and comprehensive exit strategies, which is you need to trail. For example, when you open your position, you don't set a profit target, or you set a very large profit target, but at the same time you need to trail your profit. And also time exit. If you open your position and after 1 month you still cannot get out, you may want to close your position because something fundamentally changed. It never reached the other boundary, and which kept you from closing your position. Also, more complicated entry. That's a lot of research reports written by securities researcher. They always want to use some technical indicators. And if you calculate your spread, you don't just simply put an upper boundary or lower boundary to trade. You may input that spread into a Bollinger Band or EMA or RSI. Then you trade that signal, trade the Bollinger Band, trade the EMA, trade the RSI instead of just trading the spread. And the fourth one is filters. If you can find oxidation filters that work, then it's great, because when the oxidation filters tells you it starts trending, you can just close your computer and don't do real trades for this strategy. Also, event filters. Actually, after the French election, every Wednesday, maybe every Wednesday, European Central Bank will hold a meeting, and Gerard will have a speak in the market, and it has very big influences after April 2017. You can look back into the price chart of euro. Every time in Wednesday, there will be a trending euro, and that's a disaster for this strategy. So if you can like you don't trade, do just one with reversal, which has a very high winning ratio, or momentum. I actually tried another strategy, which is trading trend for this pair. It had, by now until today, it has better outcome than this strategy. But you don't know in the first place that euro has fundamentally changed in its value in several months. And also, you don't want to trade only one pair and using one strategy. You may want to trade one pair with multi-strategies, or more pairs, or multi-strategies and multiple pairs. And also, before you want to do real trades, you might want to do some pre-trade research by yourself, because the research report don't tell you how he collect the data and don't show you the analysis of the data. So you might examine the ideas more thoroughly. Since I don't want to abandon this strategy, so I changed my code when in July 2017, the vertical line here. And I changed the strategies. I added some time exit strategies, and also I didn't close the position at that low level. I actually make it easier for the strategies to close its position. And the out of example outcome is not good, but it's much better than the original one. So I'm still waiting it to come back because trending only accounts for like 20% of time in the market. So 80% is oscillation. If it can trade in then it can suffer. It can the losses. And see and keeping at it where the results good. To sign and don't level too much because well-known at the end often claim to L because it